Now, I went to bed a few days ago and I had a dream. In that dream, I made a video about Ganymede, Jupiter's moon. However, in the dream, it was a dwarf planet. When I woke up, I thought it was a good video idea, and here we are today. Galileo Galilei discovered Ganymede as part of the Galilean moons, along with Callisto, Io, and Europa in 1610. What happened was that in late 1609, Galileo was observing the moon. Jupiter was at opposition, meaning on the opposite side of the sky. It was the brightest thing in the sky, not including the moon. He adjusted his instruments on January 9th, 1610, and observed 3 fixed stars in a line formation. Since Jupiter was in retrograde, meaning it would have moved in opposition to these stars, Galileo expected the stars to be east of Jupiter, since it moved west. However, when he checked the stars the next day, the stars were in fact west of Jupiter. He soon realized that there were 4 stars, and on January 15th, he figured out that the stars were in fact planetary bodies that revolved around Jupiter, that they were 4 moons. His book describing the discovery, Sidereus Nuncius, was published in March of 1610. This changed how people viewed planets. The Copernican System stated that the Earth went around the Sun, and the Moon around the Earth. Proponents of the older Aristotelian system counter-argued that the Moon went around the Earth. How come the other planets didn't have their own moons? Galileo proved that they indeed had their own moons. Galileo originally wanted to call the moons the cosmic stars, after Cosimo II, whom he tutored. He later changed it to the Medicean stars, named after the Medici family. Nowadays, they're known as the Galilean moons. He addressed the moons individually as 1, 2, 3, and 4, in order of proximity to Jupiter. This naming convention gave Ganymede the alternate name Jupiter 3. In 1614, Simon Marius wanted to name the moons using this system. In his system, the closest moon would be Mercury of Jupiter and the farthest, Saturn of Jupiter. This didn't catch on. However, Marius relayed a suggestion by Kepler. His idea was to name the moons after Jupiter's many lovers. They are in order: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. This didn't catch on either. However, when Saturn's moons began to be discovered, originally they were named like Jupiter's moons, in order. However, in 1789, Herschel discovered 2 new moons that were before the first one. So to avoid renumbering, or by numbering in order of discovery, they decided to name the moons individually. Herschel's son suggested that they be named individually. When William Lassell and George Bond discovered an 8th moon in 1848, they decided to name the moons after the Titans. This revived Kepler's suggestion for individual names. That is how Jupiter 3 became known as Ganymede. Ganymede's name specifically was the son of the king of Troy, who was carried away by Zeus, aka Jupiter, disguised as an eagle to become his cupbearer. Ganymede is Jupiter's 3rd moon. Ganymede is the largest moon in our solar system with a diameter of 5,268 kilometers or 3,273.5 miles. Larger than Mercury but smaller than Mars. It takes 7.1 days for Ganymede to orbit Jupiter. It is the only moon with its own magnetic field, and, as such, auroras occur on the moon. Note that Ganymede's comparatively small magnetic field is within Jupiter's field. Interestingly enough, there is a lot of proof for an underground ocean in Ganymede. The Galileo probe got some measurements suggesting a conductive layer beneath the surface, and salt water is very conductive. In 2015, the Hubble Space Telescope observed Ganymede and its auroras. If Ganymede was frozen, it was predicted that the aurora would sway by 6 degrees. However, if there were an underground saltwater ocean, the salt would generate a counteracting magnetic field, and the aurora would only sway by 2 degrees. Now, the dark portion of the moon originates from impacts from comets and asteroids from 4 billion years ago, and the lighter portions are younger, being formed by tectonic activity. I think Ganymede is interesting. Another interesting thing is how more and more common water appears to be. Maybe people should have taken into account the mundanity principle when it comes to water. I'm no astrophysicist though.